tribal tendencies, and even worse, some are talking about civil war. Is that possible? And how do we stop it?
Thank you very much. I thank the management of this forum for inviting me. Let's stick with the title of the panel, which is whose problem. I want to focus on that a bit and then answer your question. We, as Afghanistan, as a nation, as a state, we have never posed conventional threat against Pakistan. We have certain issues which, like any other issue, they can have political and mechanical fix. But since the existence of Pakistan in the last 65 years, Pakistan has been largely a problem for Afghanistan. Now, to reduce it as Pakistan being Afghanistan's problem or Afghanistan being Pakistan's problem, I consider it an escape effort by the international community from the strategic perspective which was created post 9/11. Now, Pakistan, we all know, to quote your strategists, your ex-military, they are harboring the Taliban. Bin Laden was found near the largest military academy in Pakistan. The financial infrastructure of the militant extremism is based there. When Taliban fly to Qatar, they fly from Islamabad. When they go to Japan, they use Pakistani airports. When they go for fundraising in UAE, they also go from Pakistan. So Pakistan is not our problem, it's our collective problem. So if we want to solve it, we have to acknowledge that it is a global challenge and it's a global problem, one. Secondly, the West over the past 11 years has tried to reassure Pakistan that investment in the Afghan National Security Forces will not create a strategic shift, a strategic change in the balance of power in the region. And I think that policy has not helped the situation. So the Afghan National Security Force, it's not a defense force, it's a security force. What gives us a strength is the strategic partnership that we have signed with the United States, France, Britain, Italy, India, and other countries. We, by ourselves, we remain as vulnerable as ever because without these partnership agreements, and hopefully we will be able to sign the BSA with the United States, and also the issue of SOFA will be solved. That gives Afghanistan a strength. So, number two, and Pakistan is currently seeing the SPAs, the Strategic Partnership Agreement, as a threat which will shrink the sphere of influence of Pakistan in the region. Remember, Pakistan has always looked at Afghanistan through the lens of its India-centric policy and India-centric strategy. It's a country from the very beginning of its life and existence has tried to gain a status of parity with India, and in that context they have tried to reduce us to their backyard, either have a weak Afghan state or pro-Pakistan state. Now, you want to draw down significantly in 2014. You want to Afghanize the campaign. Now, the strategic question is, who will challenge the situation post-2014? Taliban? They have been weakened several times in the past 10 years. When General McChrystal took over and he started Operation Marja and then General Petraeus, according to their reports, over 3,000 Taliban mid-level commanders were taken off the battleground. Many more were killed, but these were expendable Taliban. These were the ones who could be replaced easily. The Taliban leadership who control the command and control structure of the Taliban, they are inside Pakistan. So you should ask the question this way, post-2014, will we have a degree of honest cooperation from Pakistan, or they will become more deceptive, or they will try to become more extortionist as they have been in the past 10 years? And I want to conclude my initial remarks by saying we need to do three things to ensure post-2014 there is no, to borrow my friend's phrase, descent into chaos, there is no civil war. We need to do three things. A, the United States, the Western community, NATO in general, they have to show very visible for a transparent political process. If we can have a degree of transparency, and I repeat, a degree of transparency in the next elections, that will ensure legitimacy for a state and the government, and it will not decline the motivation of the ANSF to fight. Number two, we have to fundamentally change our narrative of reconciliation. I want to go back to the day one panel, which was new normal. So what is the new normal post-2014 for Afghanistan? Is the new normal means
man.
we release the Taliban from jail, give them a space in southern Afghanistan, and expect them overnight to become democratic movement of Taliban? That is a dream. It will not happen. It is like frying snowballs, and it's not going to be possible. Now, number three is we have to be very honest in assessing what is Pakistan. Is it an ally? Is it a hostile state? What do they want? And addressing that big question will, of course, as the minister said, will have a profound effect on the situation of Afghanistan. My very last sentence, please, do not say it is because of Afghan tribalism, it is because of the fever of violence in the Afghan blood that things don't work. No. We want life. We want very civil, normal life like rest of the nations in the world, but we are in a very bad neighborhood. We have a country in our south which promotes Sunni extremism. We have a country in our west which promotes Shia extremism. And in between, we are like this asphalt flower trying to survive. And so therefore, it will not be our fault if things go wrong. It will be our collective fault of not being able to solve a bigger issue, Pakistan.
All good points, but let me ask you something. When you talk about civil war, whether that would happen or not, and some of the problems, I mean, are we falling into the same trap when we think about Afghanistan and the Pakistan relationship that Pakistan has in terms of its dealing with India, that it only sees its problems through the lens of India? Or Afghans looking too much at their problems through the lens of Pakistan? Because there are certain issues in Afghanistan, such as in the north, the U.S. Supported the Northern Alliance in the beginning in 2001. Now they've pretty much abandoned those, and there is like a very low level kind of disaffection of the various sectors of Afghan society amongst each other.
Poor Northern Alliance. We are facing this insurgency just because for 6 months Northern Alliance was in power. That's a wrong argument. Then the other argument is there is an insurgency because there is corruption. Yes, there is corruption, but it doesn't necessarily immediately justify massive suicide bombings and stopping reconstruction and whole part of in a big chunk of our country because the state is corrupt. Now, your point, what we see in Afghanistan very clearly, as I said, we need transparent election to ensure that we maintain the national consensus about the legitimacy of the state, and also it keeps the ANSF motivated. The reconciliation should not be a fear-based approach. It should be a vision. And also we should put the word truth in the reconciliation. We have to find out who is who. We cannot have a blanket pardon for all those people who have inflicted so much pain on us. And the last thing is, like any other country, yes, there is divide in our country. There is linguistic divide, there is provincial divide, there is a struggle for access to resources. If the Taliban are to die down tomorrow, the strategic threat for Afghanistan will be population growth, water, urbanization, transparency in extractive industries, etc., etc. But now, as we are talking, let me repeat, we are only making $1.5 billion, and we are receiving subsidy 10 times bigger than that. So those who say Afghanistan has progressed massively and it has reached the threshold, we have gained critical mass, I totally disagree with that argument. We have not reached a critical mass. It is very vulnerable, very vulnerable. And if you develop a narrative that we helped them for 11 years and they didn't help themselves, and that triggers a strategy of abandonment, we collapse. And if we collapse, it means you lose to militant extremism and it will have domino effect.
Thanks, Amrullah. We're going to talk a little bit about Pakistan. With Ahmed here, I should mention that